As the next half hour plus will attest, I'm over to what those. I don't have wells or I'm not really tasteful. In fact, case in point, Mick Jagger recently had to undergo emergency heart surgery. So that forces Maroon 5 to redo their music video, Moves Like Jagger. A big thank you very much for Mega and Dwayne for putting me and my third show together here, Mark and me, our second show together. So thank you very much for letting us attempt to entertain you. We are going to be doing, on Facebook, I actually asked for some name suggestions for this second show of Mark and mine. Really old one was O'Collins and Gary. You had to really know that there was an old radio show in Pittsburgh called O'Brien and Gary to really get that joke, so right over your head. Mark and Gary, Not Again, was a suggestion, but we turned that one down. But we did get a volunteer from California, the third musketeer from our old days in Central. He is now a high school English teacher in California. Tony suggested, so that's why we're going with the official name, The Yinzer Fools Show. Okay, so we are the Yinzer Fools. You're not fools for being here, we are the Yinzer Fools. That said, let's continue. I am your MC. I'd like to share with you what you've been missing if you were watching television tonight instead of being here, so thank you very much. It's a regular part of my show is to say what you'd be missing if you were home binge watching. On CBS tonight at 8 o'clock is NCIS. 9 o'clock is NCIS LA, and at 10 o'clock is NCIS New Orleans. On the My Pittsburgh TV channel, it is 8 o'clock NCIS Baldwin, followed by NCIS Emsworth, and of course NCI Overbrook at 10 o'clock. On the Dyslectic channel on your cable station, or as we like to call it, CTDV. We'll be rerunning the final episode of the BHO closer, The Throne of Games, followed by a back-to-back movie classic, The Eight Wives of Henry VI and Tamaka Killingberg. Tonight's show will be a multimedia show. I apologize in advance for using index cards, but I'm very old. In fact, I'm 719 months old. Late next month, I turn 60, or in dog years, I'd be dead. It's now reached the point where I'm driving, and on the radio, when the radio is even not on, I can still hear Neil Young saying, "Oh man, look at my life." It's like, really? Can you turn that thing off? Oh, it is off. Never mind. But everything in life is really relative. Another kind of song that I kind of like is Stevie Nicks. And she did Landslide. And I'm getting older too. Well, on Sunday, Stevie Nicks turns 71. Wow, I know, isn't it like weird? So, speaking of Fleetwood Mac, segue, I did this last time and I thought it was really cute. I don't know if you know this, but last year, Fleetwood Mac fired Lindsey Buckingham. They did. They literally called Lindsey to the office and said, you can go your own way. Now, it's okay to break the chain. And you can stop thinking about tomorrow. But apparently he's never going back again. We also lost a really big kind of very famous rocker of our generation in 2018. Tom Petty died. That was a real heartbreaker. But that explains why he don't come around here no more. So. Too soon? No. I have the index cards, but technically speaking, I could take one of those drugs they sell on television for improving your memory. The one that amazes me is Prevagen, because, it's the stuff that's derived from jellyfish. And how many of you out there think that the jellyfish have really good memory, as evidenced by the fact that they can't even freaking remember to stay off that shore in the morning? There will be numerous Pittsburgh references tonight. I will do an occasional ballad like, Yins are so beautiful. And that. And we also have to say, I'm a member of a chorus, a chorale, and I have to do an old Beatles thing. What would you say if I sang out of tune? There's the door. We don't need to hear people who sing out of tune. One of the things I do on part of my shows is try to gauge for the other comedian tonight, Mark, how sick the audience is, how sick and twisted they are. So I like to go back to a Frank Sinatra 60s classic, if you will. Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl with emphysema goes walking, and when she passes, each guy she passes goes, okay, we got a sick crowd here, Mark. Exactly, you're in the crowd. Another kind of sick joke in that same category is one that is dedicated to the British royal family. It's been a while since this happened, but with apologies to John Cougar or John Cougar Mellencamp, whichever day you want to call him something, but it's a little bitty about Chuck and Diane, two rich kids growing up over in England. Chuck is going to be a king someday. Diane's going to slam on the wall with a guy named 58. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. I like the groans, Grace. That's good. You know, there's a proof though with respect to Princess Di, 20 plus years ago. Some jokes do write themselves. Apparently, I made the reference that Princess Di died in a car wreck with Dodi El Fayed, and the French coroner, when he was putting them in their body bags, put them in separately and said, "Zippity Dodi, zippity Di." Now, you may see on a lot of the kind of television commercials, a lot of drug ads. I think they're hilarious because the side effects are scary, but they've now taken some of our music from the 70s and 80s. One of my favorite songs in the 70s was It's Magic. I had to look it up. The group is called Pilot. It's now Ozempic. I don't even know what the drug is for, but it's Ozempic. Well, they sold out. But he was just in town last weekend, and I'm still kind of waiting for Garth Brooks to do the same thing, so blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. The last one to know, the last one to show, I was the last one you thought you'd see there. And I saw him get surprised and the fear in his eyes when I took a glass of champagne. And I toasted you, said, honey, we may be through, but you'll never hear me complain, 'cause I got friends. For those of you who are recording it, the picture sign of blows. Okay, there you go. But you sit there and I told my daughter, who's now a lawyer out in California, you have to cut off the lawyer comments, the free advice you give. So I got this advice 30 plus years ago. It's like they sit there and you go to, hey, Gary, you a lawyer? Yeah. It's like, well, how much do you charge? I said, like $500 for 3 questions. And the guy goes, don't you think that's a lot? He goes, yeah, what's your third question? But you know, a really, really good lawyer is somebody who represents their client well. Like, you know, if you're a good lawyer and somebody breaks a mirror, you got them down so they only have 2.5 years bad luck. And interestingly enough, there was a sad story about a kind of traffic jam for Elizabeth out in California. And there were people walking amongst the cars collecting. And so she rolls down her window and says, what's going on? She says, well, there's an out-of-luck lawyer in front. And he went in the middle of the intersection and he doused himself in gasoline because he's not doing well financially. And she says, well, you're collecting. He says, yeah. So what have you got so far? We got 7 packs of matches and 2 lighters. I also find it funny because I heard that somebody was actually in a car accident and they were more worried about their dog in the front seat than they were of themselves. So, you know, we have specialized things in terms of lawyer representation. I think there's probably a little niche here for people, like lawyers who will represent the dog in the accident in case they get whiplash. But there are certain side effects in the drug ads that are kind of scary because you know the lawyers had to write that for the various pharmaceutical companies. One of them that bothers me most is the side effect is death. That's more than a side effect. I mean, there's one thing that I forget what the name of the drug is now, but it's some sort of medicine you can take, and it's supposed to help you cut down and eliminate your smoking. True. But one of the side effects is suicidal tendencies, to which I say, but you wanted to give up smoking. Okay. Now there's one that's kind of surprising. I can't remember. It was a new drug for tinnitus. The name sure rings a bell. I try to get my current event news when I'm doing current event stories from Michael J. Fox News, where everybody gets a fair shake. A friend of mine's wife said that apparently he always blames everyone else when something goes wrong, and he said, whose fault is that? And if a dog breaks a mirror, do they get like 49 years bad luck? A woman once told me, complained, says, you know, men will never know pain until we experience childbirth. And I went, how do you think we got here? There was also a story in the news that was kind of pathetic. An Ohio guy charged with murder. He says that Pat Sajak told him to kill his mom and by a vow. Just skipping through here. Oh, yes, I was going to do like a news story in terms of religious things. You know, we have so much technology today. What would we do if it was like 2,000 years ago? Would we be talking about Paul's tweet to the Corinthians? One of the things I liked was really appropriate because it was a Pitt alma mater joke, but the former Pitt place kicker, Lewitt was his name. He is going to be trying out for the Chicago Bears come fall. He's going to try to be their place kicker. Place kicker making field goals and extra points, and his name is Lewitt. So come fall, I guess he's going to be competing with the guys who are, the current guy is Ed Wide-Right, and Billy Hit the Post. Growing up, we had a house before we lived in Brentwood. It was in Munhall. I'm not kidding. There was a building, it was a on-the-street store called Caskets and More. Yeah, I do have a picture somewhere of this 8th Avenue store, Caskets and More. And they had caskets in the window, and I thought, hey, there's a market for everything. I was more worried about the two things there. One, ask about our layaway plan. And then it said, walk-ins welcome. Really good radio ad I heard driving around the other day. Washington County Arms. It's apparently a gun store. And you can rent machine guns there. I'm not kidding, in the ad. How about that bachelor party you'll never forget? Some stories write themselves. Yeah, and I have had my share, especially when we lived out in this area of town, I had my share of running into kind of deer, a very dangerous thing. And it's like, deer can bad. And I thought maybe the problem was my wife got me those little whistles you put on the front. I sometimes thought, maybe I turned them the wrong way. So I was calling him toward my car because I had like 2.5 kills, and it got so bad in the Subaru, Megan would do this thing about Bambi. Man is in the Forester. Because I kept killing these deer. I do like clickbait for comedy. One of them says, guys, if you have a prostate the size of a lemon, you got to click on that story, see? And I click and it says, make lemonade. I think that was a very positive approach on it. And this is one that I will just say, and it goes on, you fill your own joke in, but the line, the ray line on the email said, diabetic strips for cash. Okay. We have a town nearby, the Baltimore Ravens. They're really proud of their kind of most famous person down there, Edgar Allan Poe, and his less famous friend, Winnie the... I know. You can tell it's the end of the line here. I have one more card before I go to Mark. Apparently they know how to, when you retire, when you're doing NASCAR driving, because if you've gone more than 3 laps with your left signal on, it's time to retire. I have to show, since my segue here is, the next person to speak is Mark Collins, my friend from Central Catholic. This is him from 1973. And that's what I look like, and I did have a forehead, but you can't really tell. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for laughing at my stuff. Next up is Mark.